Food banks in the US already struggling in the wake of federal program cuts this year, bracing now for a tsunami of hungry people. And if a pause in federal food aid to low-income people kicks in this weekend as the federal US government shutdown persists, the pressure to end the second longest federal government shutdown gaining new urgency this week, more federal workers will also miss their first full paycheck.
It's day one of serving meals to furloughed federal workers. As we head into the fourth week of the U.S. government shutdown, we're here to support the federal workers and their families who have missed paychecks and who need just a little bit more support during this really difficult time.
It's starting to get real. You know, we just missed a paycheck, so definitely moving money around, playing money games, and you can't sustain this for much longer. I mean, at some point, you're just going to dry out your savings and all that. And, when you have kids and daycare and mortgages and all that, banks aren't waiting around for you to get paid.
So as Donald Trump's visit to Asia also continues, his policies and his personality continue to affect so many areas of life at home and abroad. Well, we're going to discuss the latest then with our international affairs commentator, Doug Herbet. Doug, we're going to split this into two because there's so many different
absolutely.
issues.
Easier to do it that way.
Let's do domestic first of all. What is the latest domestically in the US?
And I will. I think you were right to lead in. It's sort of, while Donald Trump was in Asia, ... Here's what's going on the domestic front, Stuart. We first heard a little snippet of that. 42 million Americans are now in the crosshairs of this government shutdown, which is now nearing its 1-month mark. We're in the 28th day. And specifically, these are Americans who get food benefits. They're the most vulnerable, the lowest income Americans. They're facing this Saturday, November 1st deadline, at which those benefits are likely to be cut off unless some action to reverse that is taken. Meanwhile, there is no end in sight to the shutdown itself, and the criticism against particularly the Trump administration and Donald Trump is that he's effectively weaponized a shutdown, weaponized it in order to exert his executive power more, i.e. through layoffs of federal workers. Thousands have been laid off, although there is right now a court injunction that has put a pause, a temporary stoppage to further layoffs. We'll see. Watch this space. What else has gone on? Well, the East Wing of the White House, an institution. It used to be Eleanor Roosevelt's office. It was also a movie theater for past presidents. They liked it as a little retreat. It's gone, demolished. A whole part of American history is literally demolished. There's a sense of jaws dropping with a lot of Americans who can't believe that actually has happened, while Trump was in Asia. And it began actually before he went to Asia as well. Trump's dispatchment of federal resources, that's a euphemism for, as you know, National Reserve Guards and other types of security forces to major American cities, mostly Democratic-led ones, does continues against the wishes of almost every governor of every state to which those federal forces have been deployed. It's a crackdown on what Trump says, a crackdown on illegal immigration, violent crime. Critics see it as a crackdown against cities run by people who don't like Trump, his opponents, his political opponents. So a form of retribution under another name. And lo and behold, there's also talk, once again, of that third term. Donald Trump hasn't directly said he's running for a third term. In fact, there had been talk of a switcheroo in which he'd be vice president and then the president would step down, the elected president, and he'd assume the post. He said on Air Force One when he was going to Asia, that's too cute. The American people wouldn't like it. I'm not going to do it that way. But one of his top advisors, former top advisor, Steve Bannon, said in an interview with The Economist this week that Donald Trump, he will be president in 2028 again. There's a plan in place. He didn't specify what that plan is in order to ensure that he's president again. I will note, Stuart, you know this. I think a lot of our viewers know it. We've talked about it before. A third term is banned under the American Constitution, 22nd Amendment it's called, and it would take a very heavy lift by both houses of Congress or by a massive number of U.S. states to make that happen. But Trump says he loves the idea, keeps hinting at it. You might give him the benefit of the doubt, and you might say, well, it's simply a political tactic in order to ensure that he remains relevant. And meanwhile, the roundup of illegal immigrants does continue at the hands of ICE agents across the United States, especially targeting Latinos. A New York Times editorial actually out this week said that many Latino Americans, citizens, are now afraid to speak Spanish on the streets. They ask people to pick their children up at schools, and some citizens themselves have been detained, sometimes for 24 hours. This is what's happening in America, ... while Donald Trump is in Asia.
That's domestically. If that's not enough, what about foreign policy?
Yeah, foreign policy. Well, foreign policy does merge in many ways with domestic policy. Let's begin with what has been a dramatic, I underscore the word dramatic, buildup of military materiel in the Caribbean. The largest warship in the world, the USS Gerald R. Ford, is right now in the Caribbean area. And what is it there? It's at the head of a virtual armada of thousands and thousands of U.S. troops and destroyers, guided missile destroyers, and all part of a campaign that has seen in the past days and weeks at least 10 boats carrying what the Trump administration says were smugglers at the head of illegal drug networks, cartels, bringing drugs to the United States, shot them out of the water. Is there legal sort of, justification for it? Well, a lot of legal experts are saying absolutely not. These are targeted assassinations at sea. Whether or not you accuse someone of being a drug lord, they should be arrested, rounded up, perhaps subject to a trial and prison terms. But there are policies or legal questions raised when you simply shoot boats out of the sea because you say they are carrying drug traffickers. In the meantime, Donald Trump continues to hold out the possibility of the land option in Venezuela, i.e. land strikes in Venezuela, with the goal of ousting, driving Nicolas Maduro from power. Even if that isn't Donald Trump's specific goal, explicit, his administration has said as much. And finally, let's look at Argentina. We've been reporting in the past couple of days, Javier Milei there, he has just won a thumping victory, his party, in legislative elections. Now, was it simply credit to him? Well, maybe. Maybe he's a very good populist politician, and the Argentinian people are behind his radical overhaul of the economy, even if it means biting austerity at home. However, not so minor issue that Donald Trump, on the eve of this election, through a $20 billion, not million, $20 billion economic lifeline to Argentina, basically to help bail it out. And this, you could see, got the danders up of a lot of U.S. farmers, especially those soybean farmers that have been on the receiving end of China's decision to cut off their purchases of soybeans in retaliation for Trump's tariffs and threats of tariffs. So these farmers are saying, so the Trump can afford $20 billion for Argentina, a foreign country, but can't afford to help his own constituents, his own farmers here at home. It's raised a lot of issues. And I will note that Trump himself made it explicit. He said, if Javier Milei is not elected, his party does not win these elections, that money is not going to Argentina. So he explicitly tied it to the elections there. The list goes on and on, Stuart, the foreign policy list. But these are just a couple of the things where our attention's been diverted to Japan and Malaysia and upcoming South Korea with the meeting with Xi Jinping as well. All of that, while that happens, this has been happening in the United States of America.
And we'll continue.